happy Halloween to my American Horror Story historians. My name is EJ and welcome to my channel. We have a lot to talk about. We have dived into 2 episodes of American Horror Stories Season 3 already, and I have another one to talk about. This one is quite hard-hitting, quite gripping. Even though it's weird, campy, and over the top, I have a lot to talk about this one. We are going to be diving into American Horror Stories Season 3, Episode 7. We are talking about X. Black and white filmmaking, Henry Winkler, creepy monsters. You got me, gal. You got me with this one. Is this, again, my favorite American Horror Stories I've ever seen? No, I definitely think there is still some very interesting ones. The one last year with the girl hooking up with the guy in the grave and all that, that lives with me. That sits with me. This one, though, definitely has a similar, it infested my soul, no pun intended. This was hard-hitting. I knew being in the medical field, I knew it being science-based, it was going to get weird, but I didn't really expect it to be so tragic, so sad. I mean, this episode was crazy, dealing with such a heavy topic like cancer and then trying to fix it, but by fixing it, you're making these monsters, and are you helping people? You know, who's all involved with it? I loved that this felt like classic 1950s horror. It wasn't just that black and white feeling, it's that I don't know who to trust feeling. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. We're coming, this reminds me of that communist era stuff where we're like, who do I trust? Is my neighbor evil? Are they secretly working for Russia? That's kind of that mentality that this gives me to, is you don't know who to trust. The police, other nurses, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, nurses that you've worked with forever. Who can you trust? I think this episode really dives into that well. I think this is a very well acted, well crafted, good creepy episode. I think this is the kind of the scariest one out of the 3 that I've seen. I am missing 2 of the ones that I've not seen. I can't do 5 videos in one day, y'all. Please calm down. Wednesday's coming. Wednesday, y'all will get things. And then Thursday, I have Grotesquerie. This is a busy week. But anyways, these were hard-hitting, and I definitely thought X gave me something that I did not expect. It made me think, do you want to put something into this? These people are evil, but the idea of, wanting to help these people and putting them in the Spring Hill program, which is Ward X, which is making these monstrous cancer patients, which I guess they don't have cancer anymore, but now you're a monster that looks like this. I don't know what I would trade. I don't know what's worth it. I mean, this episode really had me thinking. I'm trying to be goofy and silly about it because it's just kind of my tone of my channel, but I seriously was kind of shook by this one. This one really had me going. We begin X with a mysterious woman showing up outside of a hospital. The guard is just like, hey, creepy girl here. Can we do something about this? And we kind of are thrust into our main story, seeing Claire, a nurse working in this hospital, and there's just a lot of people with cancer. And again, it's hard-hitting. We're watching this young child get diagnosed, and his mother gets offered this program called the Spring Hill Program by Dr. Henry Winkler. I didn't get his name. I'm going to call him Dr. Henry Winkler. You're lucky he's not Dr. Fonz. Okay? So, he says, hey, here's this program. Let's put you into it. And that's when Alice, we learn her name, the woman who it looks like that, she shows up, and Claire's just like, oh, let me help you, and this starts Claire down a path that I'm like, girl, you should have just left her sitting in that hallway by herself. So we are realizing that Claire is trying to investigate what's happening with Alice. She takes her blood, gives it to a nurse lady. That nurse lady never gives that blood up. Okay, and then there's a little nurse guy who comes in and tries to help out. Well, Alice kills him. My goodness, there's a giant X on the wall, and this sends Claire down a mystery of trying to figure out who Alice is, what's this case, what's going on with Ward X, and the more she uncovers, the more she finds out that everyone is corrupt around her. That nurse friend that she had, well, that nurse friend has been working in Ward X and doesn't kind of like where she feels and how she feels about it, so she ends up throwing herself off the building because she cannot handle it, and Claire's once again, what is going on? So she ends up running into Henry Winkler's doctor character, and he kind of explains, we're helping people out. We're doing these experiments, and we're getting the cancer out, and I lost somebody, so this is very important to me. And I'm like, okay. And then we see Ward X down there, and I'm like, girl, these people are not living. Like, they are ghouls living under your hospital for what? For science? Like, unless these, but again, it goes into medical experiments, like the Tuskegee, like, medical things that we had where, we were having the government experiment on black men without knowing. Like, these cases are like, oh, I'm going to help you, but we're going to hurt these people to maybe help other people in the future. Like, I don't agree with that. And that's where this episode really goes. And that's where Claire is as well. Like, we can't be doing this. This is not right. And she ends up trying to confront the doctor, but this puts her in a spot where, like, the security guard's messed up from the beginning. She's going to get messed up now. And she thinks she is one. Alice comes in and saves her at the end. And you're like, oh, everything's good. And you're like, oh, happiness. And boy, does this episode not want you to be happy. Claire decides, I'm going to save the young boy. He is dealing with the cancer, all of that jazz. And you're like, oh, great. But no, it doesn't work. Claire's efforts are basically for nothing because, oh, cops show up. Let me show you Ward X. And the cops are like, cool, let me see it. And hey, actually, my daughter has leukemia, so I kind of like this program. Like, again, you don't know who to trust. You don't know who's safe. You don't know what's the truth. And I love feelings like that. I love that this made you think about, like, who to trust. Again, that classic 1950s atmosphere is throughout this. Did it need to be in black and white? No. Aesthetically, it definitely, that was a choice that they made. I think it's okay, but it definitely is, again, it's trying to capture a time period, an era, a feeling, and I think it definitely did that much better than I thought. And again, another sad ending. Has there ever been an American Horror Stories that has ended on a positive note? That is my question for you guys. Can you guys remember? There's been a lot of these already. We're on, like, season 3, episode 7 right now. Can you think of one that has ended positive? Because this ends another hard-hitting thing where Claire does not win, and you're like, oh, everyone I love can't win in these shows, god damn it. All right, everyone, that is it for my first half of my coverage for Huluween, American Horror Stories Season 3, all of this new stuff. Part 2 has been interesting. I like the first 3 episodes I've seen. This was my episode for X. If you want to see my reviews for Clone and for Backrooms, make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. Dig around my channel. It's there. I also talk about American Horror Story. We have Grotesquerie that we're watching. I have some stuff planned. If you guys are fans of, original Disney Channel original movies, I have something spooky planned for that. Can't now wait to talk about that at another time, but let's get through Huluween. What did you guys think of this review? What do you guys think of this episode? Share your thoughts down in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy. All right, everyone, let's talk about, talk about Backrooms, talk about X, talk about Clone. Let's talk about all that goody and all of the American Horror Stories right down below.